Welcome into the Jordy Culotta Show. Wave your hand out there, baby!
Shout out to the show.
She puts the pinky into the nostril. Man, look at that.
Healthy competition, there's nothing like it.
Y'all grow up.
The line's wrapped around the stadium.
Different strengths. I just lost a tooth.
It's going to be fun.
You know, we might have a story.
I love what you're doing.
Ogeron wants to take us fishing this afternoon.
Sharif, you play for the bad boys of the SEC, man. We don't apologize to anybody.
A lot of people are saying you're going to be wearing number 7.
I don't really know. I want to.
He look crazy, Bill. Good feet on the old man.
Definitely come back. I love.
We'll be right back with the Jordy Culotta Show. All right, welcome into a Wednesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built and powered by our friends over at RMB Builders. Shout out to Rhett, the crew of RMB Builders. If you're looking to build a new home, custom design home, if you want to add on to the current house that you're in, remodel, you can get in touch with Rhett at rmb-builders.com. Make sure and tell them you heard him here on the Jordy Culotta Show. They're also on Instagram and RMB Builders Daily. Our phone lines brought to you by Metropolitan Health Group. As our formerly Metropolitan Health Group, Southern Regional Medical Center is now rebranded and renamed Southern Regional Medical Center, formerly Metropolitan Health Group. Same people, same great services. Charlie Harvey, Jason Ramazan, get in touch with them. And, of course, Jason Ramazan, Mr. Funds Travel, got the trip heading over to Orlando. You can learn more about it online, but same great accommodations with tickets, airfare, hotels, first-class stay, first-class travel and accommodation. Get in touch with Mr. Funds Travel at MrFundsTravel.com. They'll be booking the trip to Orlando, and they'll also be giving you the details about Las Vegas for next year's opener coming up over the next couple of months. So you make sure you want to bookmark that email and that website to keep up with all what's going on. All right, more names for LSU baseball coming off the board in the draft. In fact, the Tigers had 13 in total, which is a new school record for the most decorated program in college baseball as far as the modern day goes. I know that USC has the 11, but nobody's heard of USC baseball in the last 30 years. LSU baseball, again, yesterday was very popular at the Major League Baseball draft. Riley Cooper went in the 13th round to the Baltimore Orioles.
King.
A couple of sources saying that he's going to take that contract, not be back to LSU. What a run for Riley Cooper it has been at LSU. A man that last season, when he took them out, a bunch of people would always say, I mean, this guy again?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, here comes Cooper again. I mean, they count on this guy too much to this season on a national championship run to had people asking, where's Cooper? Right?
Yeah.
Like, put Riley in the game because he was as trusted of an arm. He was someone who had and you could feel the confidence that the coaching staff and Jay Johnson felt in and around him when he was on the mound. And look, some of the biggest moments for LSU baseball this year happened with Riley Cooper having the baseball in his hand. So what a run it's been. He transferred over from Arizona with Jay Johnson when he took the job. He was a freshman at that point. So he spent his next 2 seasons here in Baton Rouge until he became draft eligible, and he was a 13th round selection of the Baltimore Orioles yesterday. Congratulations to Riley Cooper. If it is in fact true that he will take this contract, I think that LSU baseball will always be behind Cooper in following his career and what he meant on this championship run. A couple of other names that came off the board yesterday. Garrett Edwards had his name selected in the 11th round by the Tampa Bay Rays. Again, he'll be joining Trey Morgan. Morgan was a 3rd round selection over in Tampa, but Garrett Edwards, the right-handed pitcher, was selected yesterday. Of course, his injury was one of the storylines during this last season that really affected LSU at the midseason point. Really kind of put him behind the 8 ball as far as the bullpen and the arms were concerned. But Edwards, you could always sense and knew the talent was there. He came off the board yesterday in the 11th round. And then maybe surprising for some of the fan base, Blake Money goes in the 12th round to Baltimore as well. He went 361st overall to Baltimore, actually a round before Cooper did. So both Riley Cooper and Blake Money ended up in the Baltimore organization, and Blake Money goes in the 12th round. And as far as the LSU commitments, the big one the whole time that LSU baseball has been watching has been right-handed commit Cameron Johnson. Johnson, of course, is over at IMG Academy, and he is one of these top prospects. He is number 10 overall prospect, big, physical, strong, left-handed pitcher who can hit 90 to 94 on his fastball. He's got a couple of pitches. He's big time. He went yesterday in the 20th round to St. Louis, and you look at what St. Louis could potentially have from a money standpoint to play with, and how much they'll be able to pay Cameron Johnson. It feels like it's a little bit of a Hail Mary at the end of the draft to draft him, because most people had him as a top round type prospect. This could be enormous news for the LSU staff, pitching staff, if they're able to hang on to Johnson and he's able to get to campus, because he's one of those guys that steps in immediately and becomes impact player. I mean, he'll affect the pitching staff immediately. I don't know in what capacity, whether it's a starter or a reliever or at the end of it, but that feels like it's good news.
Yeah, he's the number 2 left-handed pitcher in the country. And so if you're able to get somebody like that on campus, you immediately will find a role from him. You don't get really – these are not the guys that get to campus. Whenever you're ranked that highly, he's the 10th – I think of the 11th ranked player in the country. And so these are the guys that usually they get drafted. He's supposed to be a first 2-round pick. And he kind of – I don't know if he had set his number high going into the draft process, where it basically makes you not draftable. And
had an injury midway through his senior year.
Did he? Okay, so they could be that too, like a little bit of a Bregman scenario where he gets hurt going into his senior year and you don't get maybe drafted where you thought you would, so you just hold out and say, I'm going to go to school. So all of that's on the table, and if he decides to go to LSU, I mean, that's a massive one for Jay Johnson. And you have the guy we were talking about yesterday, the Alabama pitchers in the portal. He was one that was scratched from the start.
Holman.
Yeah.
Yes.
It all comes full circle.
I saw that.
LSU's hosted him.
I saw that.
Jay said, well, you couldn't pitch there. You can pitch here on
Yeah,
Friday
pitch
nights.
over here. We won't scratch you.
That's right. Luke Holman, who is the guy who woke up with back tightness.
Bad bed.
That opening game for the LSU series hit the portal yesterday, and On3 was reporting that LSU is set to host the newest portal right-hander in Holman coming up. So LSU is scouring for pitchers, and if they're able to hang on to Cam Johnson, that would be a huge coup. In addition,
Another lefty
to the staff and another lefty. That's right, man. For Jay Johnson and
it seems like Nate Ackenhausen's going to stay. So why you didn't think I don't know if people thought that they would lose Cooper, but you talked about a trust factor. If you didn't like Riley Cooper going into like whenever he became on like LSU, like whenever he transferred over, and that was kind of like you looked at him and you were like, I don't know if he can do like hack it here. It doesn't look like you're an LSU baseball player primarily. Too bad. Jay Johnson shoved him down your throat. He was like, this is the guy I trust the most. So, and I don't think you win a national championship this year without Riley Cooper.
No.
Because when you look back at every big moment, there's a flash of 38 there somewhere. Like whether it be getting, like going in with 2 men on, 1 out, Cooper got the call. Like it was just an amazing run where you almost look forward to him getting in the game. That was the guy that you looked to bring in. And like you said, it went from, oh God, it might be Cooper to please bring in Cooper. And so I don't think LSU wins a national championship without the big fella. So maybe Nate Ackenhausen steps up into that role because they seem to be almost like the same person a little bit. Like their personalities are super similar. So it seems like he doesn't, the moment's not too big for him either.
No, I agree, man. And, I think the news around Ackenhausen would be big for LSU if they're able to hang on to him. And there were some reports yesterday that they will be hanging on to him. Another member of this past year's college baseball class that's entering the portal is freshman Brandon Montgomery out of Stanford. He enters the portal, all Pac-12 freshman of the year, a big outfielder that played a lot of baseball for Stanford, is a guy that's in the portal now. And, man, you know that LSU is going to be paying attention and going to be doing work here. He's a rising junior. He was a sophomore last season. And he is a outfielder / pitcher who is in the portal as well, and has been projected as a 2024 first-round draft pick in Major League Baseball's draft. So it'll be interesting to see where he lands. And you got to believe that LSU is going to be a player here. Is going to be on his trail. So it was. The portal for baseball is starting to pick up. It's starting to see some names, starting to see some people jump in there that will, really change the pace of what, what teams look like next year. And then Jordan Thompson yesterday was selected in the 15th round by the Los Angeles Dodgers. Thompson is, of course, we were talking a little bit about it yesterday, waiting and seeing where he would get his name called. He's actually from out that way. He's from Chula Vista, California, which, he grew up, I'm sure, as a huge Dodgers fan. So for him to have his name called in the 15th round by the Dodgers, it was a pretty cool experience for Jordan Thompson. But we saw his name come off the board as well.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like I was making the case for him to maybe come back. I still feel that way. I don't know what he's going to sign for. But it just feels like the 15th round isn't somewhere you'd expect him to go. It feels like he has like top 5 round, top 8 round potential. So if I'm him, I think you actually have to weigh the odds a little bit and see if you it depends on what the money is. But like you said, it could be a hometown card. It makes a lot of sense, and it becomes easier for him to go pro and go try to chase your dream with the Dodgers, because I'd imagine he didn't want to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
But for Braden Montgomery, if you're Stanford, what can you do? You make a College World Series appearance. He's probably your second best player on the team, and then you have to worry about him going into the portal? What more can you offer? He hit 17 jacks last year. Now he's going to be a first-round pick.
And they're in Omaha.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You made a College World Series run, and what more can we offer you, man?
LSU.
I think there is a little bit of that. I think it's a little bit of women's college basketball where, you think about all of these sports that we watch, right? College football, college baseball, college basketball, women's college basketball. There's only about 4, maybe 5 programs every year that you really feel confident in putting your money on and saying they're going to win it, right? Even in football, for the changes that they've made and wanted to make with playoff, expansion, transfer portal, NIL, at the end of the day, you're still betting on Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia. You throw LSU in there, you throw Michigan in there. That's the usual suspects. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's been those programs for just about 20 years, for the better part of 20, 25 years. I mean, replace one here or there, but for the most part, that's the name brands. Think about college basketball, right? I mean, for the most part, outside of a couple of outlying runs, it's been Kansas, Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, right? I mean, just here of late with the push of NIL, you've seen schools like, some of the Miami schools, the South Florida schools, where you got something to really negotiate with, where you got a power forward at Kansas State and you say, hey man, come check out South Beach for a weekend. Here's $750,000 and you want to be the team's best player? Right? I mean, that'll change it, but I mean, for the most part, college baseball. Right? I mean, for the most part, college baseball has the same teams at the top. Now, the SEC has come to start to dominate because of the money, the resources, the coaches, the facilities, all that goes into it. But who's the king of the mountain when you talk about college baseball? It's LSU, right? And I think when you see LSU doing what they're doing in women's college basketball, you see what they're doing in college baseball, and then you find out when you're a student athlete that they got real NIL money. Like you find out Angel Reese making 6 figures. You find out what, Jared Jones is probably making next year. Some of these guys that are on the roster that are being taken care of. And whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, that's the rules of today's game. And LSU is abusing they not abusing is the wrong word. They're taking full advantage of the rule. And they bought their championship. Well, you can show them every Gavin Dugas, Cade Beloso, Dylan Cruz, Trey Morgan that has been there since day one, with the addition of Skeens, Tommy Tanks, and Thatcher Hurd, right? They're not going out and just buying the entire team. They found a formula that they really believe works, and they got negotiating power. Not only are you a championship club, when you show up, you find out that LSU baseball players live like big leaguers. They travel on chartered jets. They stay in 5-star hotels. They eat meals that are, like you would want all day. They got 3-course meals. They got a nutrition center that they got access to. They got the best facility as far as the technology goes. There needs to be some additions to the fan experience of Alec Box Stadium, but as far as the training and as far as the facility goes, it's top notch. Now, Jay Johnson said they had some things that they got to keep up on, and they will. They'll spend the money to keep up on that, but when as the story goes, when Paul Skeens got here and saw the pitching technology that he would have access to every day, there was no excuse for him not to be the number 1 overall pick. So I think when you talk about a guy like Montgomery, it's like, yeah,
Don't look around.
Omaha was fun,
Yeah.
But I'd like to do it with that squad.
Yeah.
They're all getting paid. They're winning.
Jay's pretty cool.
It seems like their coach is all in on it. It's like there's just this culture that to an 18 to 22-year-old, whether you're, Haley Van Lith or you're Braden Montgomery, you're like, I
could go. Yeah.
And I can be a stud.
Yeah.
It's like not like you're like, hey man, Dylan Cruz is gone.
Ray Jobert's gone.
Yeah, you got a spot. Like you bat third and play center field.
Yeah.
It's.
But and I think he's from Mississippi, so there's a lot of smoke around him going to Mississippi State. But don't get it twisted. Even if he wants to play closer to home or play in his home state, don't think that LSU won't be a competitor at least.
Sure.
Like they're going to talk to him, and once you get in the door, that's all it really takes. If you're Jay Johnson, he's won those battles before.
Well, I think you get him on campus and it's over for LSU baseball.
So the 5 possible landing spots for him are Arkansas, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU, and Ole Miss.
Yeah, he's got his pick of the litter.
The SEC, look what
just means more.
Look what the SEC has become in baseball. It's going to be now. Braden Montgomery is going to start going to the SEC out of high school. Kids are going to be like, I'm not going to Stanford.
Yeah.
Well,
imagine Dad, I don't want to go to Stanford.
Yeah, I'm not doing this, man. I'm going to Oxford.
But yeah,
I'm going to Athens.
And I can only worry about baseball. Yeah, I only have to worry about baseball. I don't have to be at Stanford anymore.
Right.
They're not getting special treatment over there. They're probably still having to go to class, and it's hard.
Absolutely.
LSU, it's not Stanford.
Right.
You focus on ball.
Standing ovations the day after you go 4 for 4.
Exactly. You want to come to class.
Right. I think that as the tide turns here, right? It's going to be the SEC that dominates these portals, and LSU really.
And if you're Braden Montgomery, you probably that's the other beauty of Omaha. They all stay in the same hotel. They're all together. So if you can make relationships like that to where you start, seeing some of the fellows, they probably play Team USA together. There's always a recruiting pitch that can be happening, especially whenever you're kind of sequestered together. You start seeing Jay Johnson in the hallway. You start seeing like Brayton Jobert or some of the players that you probably know, and you're like, dude, come over here.
Yeah, right.
This is we're having a
Catch an
blast.
elevator.
Yeah, hold that door.
What floor are you on?
Yeah.
Remember,
button.
Daily, we're brought to you by Katie's Restaurant. Katie's Restaurant. I'll be down there at Katie's today eating lunch. Looking forward to getting down and seeing Scott Craig and the crew. As always, the great wait staff, the great people over at Katie's. If you're looking for a great lunch spot down in New Orleans, stop in and check out Katie's today. Katie'sInMidCity.com. Katie'sInMidCity.com is where you can find them online. Katie's is such a trusted name. Been around since 1984 in the city. Go check them out on Iberville Street, right in the Mid-City, right in the middle of Mid-City. They got a sister restaurant as well in Francesca's that you can check out, which is a sandwich deli over in Lakeview. Speaking of New Orleans, Saints got some good news yesterday as Alvin Kamara has agreed to plead a no contest to a misdemeanor charge, which was stems back to his involvement in a 2022 fight over in Vegas. Kamara and a couple other dudes initially were facing charges of conspiracy to commit battery, felony charge of battery with substantial bodily harm. Kamara no longer facing that felony after accepting the plea. He'll have to do 30 hours of community service and pay the victim's medical bills, which ran him at about $105,000. At the end of the day, cut the check, go do the 30 hours, and move on. If you were Kamara, Kamara did have to make a public apology on this as well, where he said, "Please accept my sincere apologies for this event back in February in Vegas. I'm happy that we were able to get to the other side of this unfortunate incident, and I wish you the best for your future," talking to the victim in this case. The NFL also released a statement on Tuesday stating that they have been closely monitoring all developments in the matter, which remains under review. It's not enough to simply avoid being found guilty of a crime, the league policy states. We are all held to a higher standard and must conduct ourselves in a way that's responsible and that promotes the values of the NFL and is lawful. Players convicted of a crime are subjected to disposition of a criminal proceeding and are subjected to discipline. So Kamara may still hear from the league here. I expect him to hear from the league here. But at least no court date in the middle of training camp. You're not looking at a possible jail time, with the felony hanging over his head. And hopefully the NFL can act swiftly on this, give him his games or how much times he got to miss, and the Saints can move on. Because, look, the most obvious statement you can make all summer is the Saints' success really centers around the status of Alvin Kamara. Can they win without him? Yes, they can. Can they win anything of significance without him? No chance. They cannot. They got to have 41. And he looked like a well-tuned Ferrari at OTAs a couple of weeks ago. Some of the video that Nick Underhill was putting out was literal football pornography. If you're into that type of stuff, Kamara is as
good of an offensive
beautiful
weapon as you can.
you
could draw up.
It just, everything from the fit to the style to the things that he is so unique when you look around the league. I think that Man Campbell in Detroit are trying to recreate Alvin Kamara after spending a significant amount of time with the Saints, right? Dan Campbell is over there. Aaron Glenn is a defensive coordinator. I believe Joe Lombardi is up there as well. But they took Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama, and some what believed a stretch at 12, right? A real reach. And I believe that Dan Campbell and the Detroit staff that spent time with New Orleans and around Sean Payton saw how much Payton put into Alvin Kamara, right? And how much he said this guy is, because you would talk to people with the Saints and they would say in film and even in team meetings, Payton would refer to Kamara as simply the best. He allowed them to do so much because of his ability to run with power, I mean, he could be your power back if you needed him to. He can obviously run outside. And then, the way that he can help you in the pass game is just that is the difference of him. You look around the rest of the running back class, and they got some good ones, right? And, most notably coming out in his same class was Christian McCaffrey out of Stanford, who, was very similar in skill set, where he was, durable enough to run the ball kind of, up into the line of scrimmage, but he was really a supreme athlete and fast enough where he could play outside the NFL and he could catch it. And I think Kamara is so much more gifted than he is in the sense of just his ability to play after the catch. I mean, what he does with the ball in his hand is just – and McCaffrey's special. But Kamara's nickname, to me, is the best. His teammates call him Water. And I think that is the most fitting nickname I have ever heard for a player in describing his style. I mean, I have only seen Kamara. What's Kamara been playing with the Saints now? 6 years? Is this his 6th year?
It's been since, 2018?
I think so.
Nah, I think he.
He came out in Leonard's class.
Yeah, he's class of 16.
6th or 7th year in the league, right? How many times have you seen him get struck?
Right.
Like I remember his rookie year in the Dallas game, he got popped on the sideline one time.
6 years.
But rarely do you see somebody
Catch
who
him.
carries the ball as much as he does, right? Like if you touch the ball 20 to 25 times in the NFL each week, you'll get your head taken off at some point. I mean, it's just you're going to turn into it. You're going to spin into it. You're going to, it's going to happen. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. Kamara just never takes a shot. And if he does, he's able to just absorb it and then, play off of it. I mean, it is truly a gift, a skill that
You almost can't learn it.
you can't, there's no way you can learn it. There's no way you can learn it. But I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that has had it like him. You've seen bruising running backs run through people. Walter Payton to, all these guys, that Leonard Fournette, it just run you over if you get in front of, which I get, you know what I mean? But Kamara has this ability he doesn't have to run you over to make you miss with a hard shot. He can take your hardest shot and almost play off of it and make it feel like a side swipe or make it feel like just like a shove. I mean, it's very hard to describe. Obviously, I'd imagine that the majority of the people listening to this show right now have seen Alvin Kamara run, and you get what I'm talking about. It just you can't hit him. And it's amazing the way he carries his body out there, really protects it. Because he's got the ball in his hand the majority of the game.
How did Butch Jones? What
It's a
he
great
did was
question.
criminal.
It's a great question.
Because everything that you just described, I'm sure Alvin Kamara was still doing that at practice. His game didn't change when he got to the Saints. You saw the carries that he had at Tennessee where you're like, oh, that's what his game looks like. And then you look up at the stats that he had at Tennessee, and it's like, why didn't he start?
Not only did he,
I know they had Jalen Hurd.
Not only did they moved Jalen Hurd.
Jalen Hurd was like a wide
receiver,
receiver, and then he went back to running back, and he was just obsessed with playing Jalen Hurd. And then, but when you saw Kamara and you see his ability, and he became probably a top 3 running back in the league. In his rookie year,
instantly.
Yeah. And it's just,
instantly.
LSU never really had a Tennessee problem, but I would imagine that if you're a Tennessee fan and you're like, how did we waste Alvin Kamara for 2 years? Because he went to Alabama Community College, then Tennessee. So I don't know if they had him. I think they had him for 2 years, but that had to just feel just criminal. It's a fireable offense.
It's unreal. It really is.
Josh Dobbs singing that thing.
Josh Dobbs,
Hey, NASA.
the astronaut.
Yes.
Speaking of the traveler, the world traveler, European. I'm expecting Shea Dixon to come in with a scarf and a cigarette from his European travels. The pictures were fantastic. We'll see if he kept up on recruiting. We'll talk about it next year with him. On the Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by R&B Builders.
Football.
Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy,
Greg Brooks. Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team. Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McCormick Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McCormick. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go Mart and On the Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. GoMart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
Welcome back here, Jordy Culotta Show, live on this Wednesday. Remember, coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, Jacques Doucet will be here. We'll preview some SEC Media Days as the Tigers take off. They'll be one of the first schools featured in Nashville on Monday morning. Be a good crew joining Brian Kelly as Josh Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Mekhi Wingo. We'll all be over at in Nashville for SEC Media Days. Welcome back to the States, our boy, the Traveler, Shea Dixon, who is over in Europe for an extended stay. The pictures look fantastic.
Cultured.
What was? Give me some highs. Give me some.
Change the hair.
Not literal. Give me some highs and lows. What was the?
We'll start with Amsterdam.
Okay.
Let's start with the highs.
You're welcome.
Is this the Rose and Thorns segment?
Yeah. How long were you? What was the duration of the trip?
A little more than 2 weeks. If you're counting in like the actual traveling.
Yeah. 2 days of travel.
I guess it was one, we've not been out of the country together since our honeymoon, so it's kind of an anniversary thing. Which actually our anniversary is today.
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
You want to guess how many years?
6.
How old are you?
Now it's all kind of things.
I'm gonna say 8.
9.
9.
Wow, Shea,
Close
congratulations.
enough. There you go. Thanks.
Congratulations,
You
to you
follow
and Emily.
the engagement rules, where you have to get something for each year. There's a certain gift. Is that still a thing?
I think that is still a thing. We don't really follow.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, I'm not trying to set you up to fail.
From Amsterdam, where?
We flew from DC to Amsterdam. Amsterdam was awesome. The architecture, beautiful city. Then we flew to Venice for a couple of nights. My travel guide tip would be you only need a couple nights in Venice.
Yeah,
it's not that big.
Right.
If you're doing it and seeing it, you got it.
Well, you can't walk. You can't go anywhere.
Can't go anywhere really. Just kind of up and down the block and looking at everything. And take a little canal ride. And that's about it. Florence would be number 1 on my list.
Firenze.
Yes.
Very historic.
Very historic. We did every touristy thing there is to do too.
Wow. So you saw all the statues.
I mean, we were up at 7 a.m.
That's the only way to do it. What was the best part of the food? Tuscany?
No, I'd say everyone had great food. The best part of the food experience is it's cheaper and there's the sales tax isn't there and there's no tipping. So we were eating very nice Italian meals for what it would cost to go to Chick-fil-A. I mean,
Right.
When I got back into the Atlanta airport and we just got off a 10-hour flight to Rome, and I was like, I'll go get us something
American food.
I'll find us something to eat. And I saw Chick-fil-A. I was like, all right, Emily will love some Chick-fil-A when we get back. And they're $34. I was like, I ain't
I don't want to buy the
for
franchise.
I hadn't paid that much for
12
3
pack.
weeks.
Just trying to get some nuggets.
Rome, hot take, a little overrated.
Yes, I think once you've been to Rome, and maybe people are experiencing all parts of Rome, so we did it all, Colosseum, Vatican. One, it was hot as hell. Not that it's not hot here, but it was much hotter than it was in Amsterdam, obviously, and then other parts of Italy. It's like New York City to me. Crowded, people everywhere.
Getting harassed everywhere you go. People want
Gypsies
stuff.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm very much, they always joke that I'm the person who, if people are out there kind of panhandling or ask for money or selling anything, that I'm the mark.
Yeah, sure.
And it's we did a New York trip with a bunch of friends, and there were people doubling back to me.
Found the sucker
again. So,
you want the CD?
I'm very, now I've got all these CDs. I'm very
Fake
bad
watches.
at that. So toss in Rome with that, and almost need to buy another bag for all the little rinky-dink things I probably bought.
Crap. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So while you're away, obviously, recruiting never stops.
Nope.
And with the new schedule, does it literally
This
ever
is the
stop?
only time it stops. So July the start of July until July 24th or something like that. The final week of July is open. Then it goes dead again for August and you get into the season. So in terms of like coaches not being able to see kids or host them, this is like the only 3 or 4 weeks.
Wow. All right, so they picked up a couple of commitments while you were I think one while you were away and then one right when you got back. Michael Turner, wide receiver out of John Curtis. Was a guy that popped. And then Ethan Callaway, another big offensive lineman from out of state in North Carolina, a 4-star tackle. What do you know about him and what the additions mean?
Well, and they got Kyle Billiot in that summer stretch. And he and Michael Turner both came to LSU camp. I was back for that. So they worked out for the staff. And when we talk about summer camps, that's the only time coaches can work like hands-on with recruits. Like every other time you're just either watching them at a game or when they host them for official visits, you're not putting them through workouts. So like they combine, they have position stuff, they put them through kind of 7-on-7 and 1-on-1 stuff. And Billiot and then Michael Turner out of John Curtis were two guys who came back multiple times and both earned offers kind of after that second trip in. And now we updated our On3 rankings. Those two are the number 1 and 2 players in Louisiana in terms of receiver. So in what's a down year in Louisiana, you can always lean on receiver. I did this, I did the research. I need to just put up the article and kind of finish writing it out on receivers. But the last time a receiver from not from Louisiana finished inside the top 3 in receiving yards for LSU in a year.
Dwayne Bowe?
No, it's after that.
It's after that.
So you're hitting the LaFell Tolliver years, but it was Cadron Boone. Wow. And right before that, it was Tolliver and LaFell. Wow. So we're talking, it's been a full decade since anybody not from Louisiana finished in the top 3 in receiving for LSU.
Wow.
So you'll always have guys here. I've said it a million times, like their down year was guys like Russell Gage and DJ Chark starting. They start in the NFL.
Yeah.
So you're always good. So I love taking Michael Turner, and I like Billiot, and I don't think you need to fly all over the country for receivers if you've got them here in Louisiana.
Agreed.
You just got to evaluate and get them.
And then another offensive lineman.
Yeah, and Callaway, that's a big one that they were the first ones to get in on. Carl St. Cyr got a shout out from Ethan Callaway's folks of they had kind of sent LSU over his film when he was young and pretty raw, and they were like, yo, this is a kid that's going to grow into his size, looks athletic. Let's keep an eye on him. And they were his first offer, hosted him a bunch of times, and put themselves in a great spot for a kid from the East Coast who's a top 100 player, offensive tackle, and LSU was kind of the wire-to-wire leader. So good job on the personnel side, Brad Davis, everyone for kind of keeping him around campus and getting his commitment, because that was a big one. You don't have – how blessed, right, that Louisiana gave you Emory Jones and Will Campbell and Zalance Hurd in the span of 12 months or whatever it was. So that's not going to happen every year. Kyrie Lee, their highest-ranked offensive lineman in Louisiana, is already committed to LSU. So you were going to have to go out of state and get some like really elite guys if you wanted that top 100 type offensive tackle, and that's what they got in Callaway.
Is the conversation real about Hurd cracking the starting lineup on this team at some point?
Is that a conversation?
I've heard that, you know, when you talk freshmen that can make instant impact.
For
I've
sure.
heard Deshaun Womack, I've heard Taviano, I've heard Hurd. And
yep, I like all those names.
And then when Hurd's name comes up, like, there's sincere feeling like he could make a push. I just wonder where.
They have depth now on the O-line, right? So, like, you're returning 5 guys. If you're including Charles Turner, 5 guys who started games last year. Like, Dellinger was starting games pre- and post-injury. So you do have 5 guys back that have started. Marlon Martinez is someone who wouldn't even be in that 5. I guess he started the bowl game, but he started a number of games over his career over multiple years. And then they got Mason Lunsford, remember, from Maryland coming in, who was the starter at Maryland. So great problem, if you will, to have a ton of depth. But Hurd's more talented than all those. So, like, how quickly can he catch on? And I think with offensive line, we've seen it with Brad Davis in recent years, whether it's injury or not playing well or whatever, like, he's rotating guys, he's putting new guys in. There was many games where guys would come in at guard and rotate halfway through, and, you know, Anthony Bradford would get a few series, and the next guy comes in. So I'd be very surprised if Hurd wasn't on the field at some point this year. That would just mean if Hurd doesn't play offensive line this year, that means their first 5 never got hurt and were excellent. And I guess you'll take that too.
Yeah. Okay, so the Duncanville crew.
There's a lot of them.
They seem like they're going to have a great, obviously, season because of the talent on the team. Let's start with Colin Simmons.
Yeah.
The number one player on that team and the number one rush end in the country. LSU's done a lot of good things with him. Where do they stand?
Yeah, I mean, it's been out of his mouth, LSU and Texas were the teams in the summer that had positioned themselves as the top two. And if you look at kind of what he's done, he's visited those two schools more than anybody. So Texas did use their OV already, I think, which is notable. LSU still got their official visit coming in November, so closer to signing day, you'll get to see a game. But for the out-of-state schools, they're the ones who have risen to the top. I mean, every time you turn around, it seems he pops up, even unexpectedly. The spring game, he was supposed to go out to Colorado, and Dion was putting on this big show for their spring game, and he was the highlight visitor. And a day before, he's like, I'm not going out. I'm coming over to LSU's game. I think this one comes down to signing day. Be very surprised if it didn't. And I think
December or February?
December. And I think it's LSU or Texas. I can make a case for both and believe it. A&M's lurking around. And I almost feel like A&M's going back to that year one of NIL where they were just like, all right, we're getting dudes. Because remember, they did that. It blew up in their face. And then they laid real low this past year. And I think they finished 18th. And we're like, no, let's just get some guys. Now I think they're back to, all right, we're a year away from joining, Texas and OU coming to the SEC. NIL laws are changing in Texas. Time to ramp things back up. They've been on a run. But Texas LSU is what I'm going with.
The other headliner for Duncanville, as LSU is concerned, is Caden Durham, the running back. That feels like an Oklahoma LSU race. We talked to him last week. He kind of left it very vague.
He's not vague about his 10-7.
That was
very straightforward.
That was my 10-7.
That was very straightforward about that.
Let me correct you real quick. Hold on. I can't have that narrative out there.
Before I start.
10-2, coach.
Yeah, so Caden Durham is the only running back that Frank Wilson's really been going after.
Wow.
And they have 7 on roster, 8 on roster now. I think Trey Bradford's back on roster. You got John Emery hanging around. So they got a lot of running backs, but I don't mind this Caden Durham or bust thing because, yes, the running back room will turn over. You won't have Josh Williams and Emery and all these guys forever. But you brought in Logan Diggs. He's got multiple years. And whether you get Caden Durham or not this year, next year in Louisiana, you have Harlan Berry, who is the number one running back in the country. You have James Simon, who's a top 10 running back in the country. And obviously there'll be other guys pop up. In fact, there's a number of other guys even in Louisiana that are going to get a lot of college offers at running back. And running back is one position that they're not afraid to play guys early. You can play early there if you've got it down. If you ball security, you know the plays, and you know how to block and not get the quarterback killed, Joe Burrow doesn't have to send you off to the sideline if you miss a block. Escort you out the game. If you can do that, you can play early. So point being, land some of those guys like Harlan Berry. They're going to play early regardless. So I like this Caden Durham or bust thing. And, boy, he's a hell of an athlete. I mean, he's the fastest running back in this class. So I think that's something this room doesn't have his speed. And I think that would be the difference maker and why you kind of have really prioritized him. He'll announce August 25th, though.
At his high school game?
At his high school game. I think they play South Oak Cliff, but they're going to be debuting or they're going to be dropping their banners from their state title and all that. So, eventful night. He'll do that and announce his commitment and all that.
One of the commits that seems to be a fast riser here this summer as far as the rankings and notoriety goes is Deshaun McBride.
Yeah.
He's flying up the charts.
Yes,
right?
I mean, he had set, this is a local kid, obviously. He had set Denham Springs' interception record a year ago. I think he had 9 in one season. And then this offseason, ran a bunch of track, looked very good. Played a bunch of 7-on-7, looked very good. Tested in those combine settings, looked very good. I think he jumped 130 spots for us on On3 yesterday. So when LSU offered him, and he was just starting to take off as a recruit this summer, we had just moved him into the top 300. I think he was 290 maybe. And that makes him I think it made him the number 26 safety in the country. So very good 4-star. Well, now he's knocking on the door of top 5 safety and top 50 player. And I was talking to Charles Power, who runs our rankings, and Cody Belair, who also is the assistant on the rankings. And both those guys were like, look, Deshaun McBride might have the best upside of any safety in the class. So if he goes out there and looks like he did as a junior, he's going to keep moving up. So I love Joel Rogers, too. They've got a really good safety class. We're talking bring it back to the Eric Reed days.
Oh, wow. Dominic McKinley is another in-state player over at Acadiana that is very high on LSU's board. There's not been a lot of chatter around him, but I know that he plays it
he's
very quiet.
Yeah, he's quiet.
Is there any news on him?
I mean, he made a ton of official visits in June, and now there's no cap anymore on official visits. It used to be 5. Take as many as you want now.
Wow.
I think he's going to do that.
Good life.
I think he took 4 in June. LSU will get an official visit. Georgia's kind of been knocking on the door. Bama's been knocking on the door. He didn't include them in his top 5 or whatever it was that he did earlier this summer and the spring. But they're going to push for a visit. I think when the dust settles, he winds up at LSU. I think until then, a lot of schools are going to feel confident just because he's the type that's going to go on a visit. And this is all new to him. Remember, his recruitment blew up in like February. So we're still very fresh into him being courted and being wanted by all these schools. So he uses summer to see all the out-of-state schools. He'll obviously come back and play his senior year at Acadiana. He'll be around LSU. He'll have an official visit. I do think when the dust settles that he'll wind up at LSU. But he's tough to peg right now just because everybody's getting love, showing love.
What about that position, defensive line? Where are they on that spot right now? They hired a new coach in Jimmy Lindsey. How's it working in recruiting?
Jimmy Lindsey, look, he's a great guy. He's got a lot of connections. He comes from South Carolina, so he knows what it takes to recruit against SEC teams and in the SEC. I think right now what you're looking at is a situation where, one, I think, in fact, it was my man Lon Sullivan, Philip Sullivan, who I saw tweeted this, so I had a tip to him. I thought in my mind, kind of dating back to the transition from Orgeron, that it's been 3 years in a row they've had a new D-line coach. Well, actually, if you're going back to when Orgeron took over, I think it's been like 7 or 8 years in a row they've had a new D-line coach every year. And remember that it was the Bill Johnson years. Pete Jenkins was in there for a year. Meatball was in there for a year, and then he broke his legs. Remember that, like right before fall camp? Then you've got this recent run of Jamar Cain and Jimmy Lindsey. I can't remember who it was right before Jamar Cain. Who are we missing? But since Orgeron took over, now granted, for a number of those years, Coach O was, I'll help handle D-line recruiting, but when you're a head coach, you can't do it like you did when you're just the D-line coach. So I think just having continuity there, like they need to keep Jimmy Lindsey on staff for more than 1 year. Like you can't expect a D-line coach to come in every year and be playing behind the 8 ball. Like what helped them a year ago with a guy like Jamar Cain was Deshaun Womack. He had already been recruiting him to Oklahoma. He'd gotten Deron Reed committed, Mickens. Those were guys he had already been recruiting, so you've got a relationship with him. There's some of that built in with Jimmy Lindsey because he came from South Carolina. Like a number of kids, Dominic McKinley, others, have been offered by him while at South Carolina. But you don't want to keep playing this catch-up game because if you're a 5-star D lineman as a sophomore, and by the time I decide y'all had 3 coaches, that's tough for me to get on board with them. I'm having to build a new relationship every year as opposed to whomever. Bo Davis, let's say for an example, at Texas, like he's been there all 3 of those years. He's been able to build that relationship with you. So I think that's something I look at with D-line recruiting and how do you get it to be back to where you're knocking down, the D-line is one of your best hauls every year, and I think it's continuity.
Yeah. Back to safety real quick. Wardell Mack is another top.
He's a beast.
Yeah, he's an animal. Where I know he took an official to Texas as well. Where are they?
Yeah, I think Texas got the most buzz out of the summer. Again, LSU has his official visit left. You'll notice it's kind of a strategy now. With a lot of these top guys that we're still talking about, LSU's got an official visit in their back pocket. A lot of other teams spin them in June. I would look, and you can only take an OV to a school once, so you can't go back to Texas on an OV. Florida's in there. They've made a big splash. Florida State was his other one. I think it's LSU or Texas. I think I could believe right now that if he were committing tomorrow and he said Texas, I would not be surprised. But in December, if he was signing with Texas, I'd be a little surprised because we're talking about a John Eric kid out of Marrero, New Orleans, that Frank Wilson, is going to make relationships and do what he has to do to keep a Louisiana kid home. And Kerry Cooks is recruiting him as a safeties coach. I think he's versatile enough to play corner or safety. He's probably the best athlete in the state, but he wants to decide before his senior year. So I think everybody, at the end of this month, he'll visit LSU, he'll visit Florida, and then go back into a dead period and mull it over for a few weeks and then make a decision. So we're not too far out from at least knowing what he wants to do now, and then we'll see what happens on signing day.
How about Tylen Singleton?
For me, Manny is one of those places. Like, until LSU signs a Manny kid, I can't get too confident they're going to get him. And Matt House has done a good job recruiting him. He keeps relatively quiet. He was going to take Arkansas, TCU, Tennessee, some other visits this summer. I know he didn't go to Tennessee. I'm not sure what all visits he ended up making, but I don't know. He's a tough one for me to pin down. Is he talented enough to play at LSU? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Does he want to? I don't know. Manny has been odd with that in recent years, even before Tackett. I mean,
where'd he end up?
USC.
I'm just making sure you know.
No, I do know. I went out of the country and still know. I follow Tackett. Boy was looking swollen in his team photos the other day.
That's how they want him. He spent every day with the strength and conditioning coach. He was there for 2 hours at USC.
So I don't know. I mean, is that a bad strategy, Jordy? Until you get a Manny kid.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, especially in your trade.
So I don't know. I know he likes TCU, Arkansas, A&M's been in there, Tennessee, but I also don't think he has a decision date set. So that one could go a number of ways still. But again, I'm not firm on predicting Manny kids to LSU until I see one go there.
I feel that. That's smart.
Read the tea leaves.
Another defensive back that everybody's got their eye on is an out-of-state guy, and Kai Bates.
Yeah, he's big time. So he told me he's going to announce a decision in a few weeks, or probably before the end of July. He'll make a decision. Bama, LSU, Florida State, Tennessee, and Ohio State all got visits in June. LSU got his last visit. But I could tell when I talked to him, imagine that going on in the span of about 28 days. He made 5 visits, each of them lasting 2 to 3 days. So he was like, bro, I was flying to these places, getting home, like unpacking, sleeping for a day, packing, and heading back out. Because he was like, I made midweek visits to Ohio, Florida State, Ohio State. Like, it was nonstop. So I think he right now is like, let me breathe.
Yeah.
Don't call me. Yeah. Let me think about this. And I think LSU entered the summer as a team to beat. I think Tennessee probably gave him a good bit to think about. Heupel and them obviously building some momentum off last year. I don't know if that'll be enough. I think Steeples has done a really good job here. Like, if I were to predict where he was going right now, even with some people on the Tennessee side saying, hey, man, Tennessee, they might have taken that lead on that OV. Well, at this point, that was 3 or 4 weeks ago now. So I think as dust settles here, LSU had been on him from the start. They're selling him on. Did you watch and this is the reality of it from talking to Kai, too, because he had said this much about it. He didn't use this example, but did you watch the Quinterly Calipari in-home visit that someone had put out on Twitter? And it was like from when Javon Quinterly plays for the Knicks now, but when he was in high school and Calipari's recruiting him, and he's like, look, you can go to these other schools that are all going to trash talk us, whatever, but on our schedule we play 30 games, and he was like, 20 of those games are going to be against teams that aren't any good, not as good as us. Plain and simple. 10 of those games, they're going to have somebody on the other side that's as good as you are and can actually test you. So he's like, so 10 times a year, you're going to get tested. He's like, I've got 9 dudes on my team right now that are better than you, just as good as you. So every day in practice, you're getting tested. And Kai Bates was talking about this, too. It's like, when Stingley got drafted, they didn't start with his, here's film of him versus Alabama. Right. It was practice film against Jamar and Justin Jefferson. So for corners, I think, and skill players, the pitch is wide receivers. You come here, you're going up against Stingley every day. It's not, your whole NFL future isn't dependent on the film of 4 games a year.
Right.
You know what I mean? And in that game, or do they move guys around and they don't even let you cover him? Type of thing. So LSU DB-wise and wide receiver-wise, that's what they can pitch. Every day you're going up against first-rounders, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, whomever it is. I think that's a strong pitch.
It is.
Only a few schools can say that.
That's right. Let me throw a couple of names out at you and just tell me where they stand with them on some quick hitters. Danny Okoye, an edge rusher out of Tulsa.
Yeah, he's a homeschool kid who's actually a pretty big-time football player. He'll make a visit here in the fall. Uncommitted right now. I wouldn't say he's real. I wouldn't feel confident enough to say he's like leaning and done anywhere. But yeah, he's a name that they've turned the heat up on in a big way.
Jordan Ross, another edge rusher from Birmingham.
Same.
Alabama.
It's like after Colin Simmons, it's like here comes your wish list of, okay, well, what about Okoye? What about Jordan Ross? You know, there are other edge rushers out there, but there is zero doubt that the person they want the most is Colin Simmons. If we're talking edge rushers,
yeah. Terry Busey, who is a big-time athlete.
Yeah, out of Texas. A&M and Texas have always been thought to be the leaders there, and I'd believe it. LSU's come on really strong over the summer. He made a visit in June right before the dead period. He'll be back for a game. He'll take an official visit to LSU. So they're in it there. He's a safety probably at the next level for a lot of teams as opposed to playing on offense, but talented enough to play anywhere. He's putting up like 8,000 yards a year in Texas.
Last one, Kobe Black, cornerback out of Texas.
His official visit to LSU is the first game, one of the first games of the year, home games. So we'll get a chance to see there. But they've got right now 3 corners committed. Wallace Foster out of New Orleans, a nickel. Juwan Johnson, who I love out of LCA, could play nickel or corner. Andre Evans, a top 100 player out of Nashville, committed this summer as a corner, as a boundary corner. And then Kai Bates would be your other boundary corner if you could get him. If you could toss in a 5-star like Kobe Black, it's elite cornerback class. And we've been saying this, even without a Kobe Black. If you get Kai Bates, it's a great haul because you had to eventually start building up the corner room through not the portal. Like the past 2 years, it's just been the portal. That's it. They've taken 8 corners in the past 2 years, 4 in each cycle, to be like, y'all are our starters. Like eventually, like LaTerrence Welsh can't be the only corner on your team that is like stuck around, which he is right now. You've got to get back to the high school level. So they've done that this cycle, which is good.
What's coming up on On3 here in July?
Oh, man. We'll do some SC Media Day coverage next week. No, not me. I won't go, but we'll have the coverage from it. Building towards this Bayou Splash event at the end of July, which is the pool party. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's at BK's house. If you swimming at the rec, you swim at the local pools. I don't know. Probably BK's house, but they'll have a lot of top targets in. And I think last year someone put on our board like 8 uncommitted kids were there, and 6 of them signed with LSU. So like, this is that last chance before senior seasons to be like, yo, let's get some one-on-one time in before we both start football, and it's crazy. And then we look up and it's December. So kind of tracking who all is going to be in town for that will be pretty key, and then seeing how that weekend goes. That's the final weekend of the month.
Shea Dixon from On3, he's the best, man. Every Wednesday we'll get back to it on schedule and talking recruiting here around the Culotta Show. We appreciate you being here with us. We'll be talking to Jacques coming up here in a couple of minutes. Come back with us. We're built every day by R&B Builders. Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest, then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Sean Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy,
Greg Brooks. Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team. Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McCormick Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McCormick. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college, for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
Good stuff from Shea Dixon here on this Wednesday morning. From one local legend to another, Jacques Doucet is here with us every Wednesday, and we're looking forward to following Jacques next week as he'll be at SEC Media Days doing great work. He'll be up in Nashville, leaving on Sunday, and LSU will be one of the first teams featured on Monday, so we'll talk to him about that trip and catch up with him. Jacques, good morning. How are you, man?
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing today?
Doing good, doing good. Things look good over at Red Rock and Blue.
Man, I want to thank my friend Ben Cassio real quick, friend and local guitarist. He put together this catering reunion this past weekend and got Amos Moses on stage for the first time in 20 years and One Wants and Debbie Landry, and I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect that. And it was over 600 showed up at the Varsity, near sold-out crowd. And I think the biggest show the Varsity's had since they reopened after COVID.
About to say, when's the last time they put 600 in that place?
Yeah, man. I don't even know if you could fit 600.
Yeah, I think the cap is 800, but that's really sardine in there if you do it like that. But it was packed, and I think just the concert alone, we raised like $15,000 on that show. So it was amazing. And so we have another show coming up, not this Friday, but next. Please come out and support Chase Tyler, Taylor Nauta, and Ben Ragsdale. Going to do a rock country show. And then the big one is August 19th. We hope it's the big one. If it does, is the same as the catering. Vertical Horizon, multi-platinum artist.
Sorry.
I think you sneezed 4 times.
They
had 4 big hits back in 2000. And then Regeneration and Petty Betty. And the softball tournament is the deadline to register, not this Friday, but next. RedRockandBlue.com. Give back to local Louisiana military charities.
Jacques, incredible. How many summers is this?
We started raising money for charity. I think it was 2007, 8 was the first charity. So I guess it's been 15, 16 years of charity. The softball tournament goes back to my senior year in high school in 1994.
Really?
So, yeah, we started that tournament.
Started in the backyard, didn't it?
Maurice, Louisiana.
Yeah.
We built a makeshift park in my parents' backyard. The movie with Kevin Costner, Field of Dreams, was fresh. If you build it, they will come. So we kind of did a quirky little thing. We had local businesses who like we put signs out in the outfield. We had Beavis and Butthead on one of them, holding up a softball. Softball is cool. Yeah. I can do a few of those impressions. I used to watch Beavis and Butthead on a loop. My parents' friends were like, "Are you going to let him watch that? That's terrible. He's going to end up like
like Beavis or Butthead."
Beavis and Butthead, yeah. So anyway, so the softball tournament started almost 30 years ago, and it's like 2 or 3 teams, and now it gets like between 70 and 90 a year. So it's pretty incredible. So.
That is amazing, man. It really is. Keep supporting it. RedRockandBlue.com. All right, so LSU baseball, put a bow on this thing, man. You covered it. You were in Omaha for the entire month of June, it felt like.
It becomes longer every time I come, every day. You were there 5 months.
Right. Now we've seen the parade. We've seen everybody get drafted. We've seen 13 players go into the draft. We've seen Jay Johnson start to, set the identity of next year as we see Luke Holman, the ace of Alabama staff, is going to be an official as he enters the transfer portal yesterday. What do you make of this run and now where LSU baseball sits once again?
Well, as a career highlight, I had never covered an LSU national championship baseball team. I didn't go in 2009. I think I was starting Red Rock and Blue, a concert or something. Erin Cofield went. She did a great job, and she reminded me every day that I had not covered a national championship. I had been the jinx. I flew in like 2017 to cover the national championship series. I jinxed him into 2 losses. But, this was a career highlight from start to finish. Did I see another fan base in Omaha? It didn't feel like I did. Everywhere I walked was LSU chants. You'll get a kick out of this. A couple times, at least 4 or 5 times, I met somebody who said, "Hey, you're Jacques Doucet. I watch you on the Jordy Culotta show." And so that was kind of a modern day.
Right.
Certainly there's plenty of people that say, "Hey, we're from Baton Rouge, watch you on Channel 9. But there were several people. I'm from Nebraska. I'm from Arkansas. I'm from here. I see you on the Jordy Culotta show.
Oh, wow.
One day I was walking in to cover a game, and all the fans are outside. They're all getting juiced up and amped up, and some guy shouts at me from across the street, "Go get him, Jordy!" I was like, yeah.
Sure.
So
I'll tell Jacques you said hello.
That means us are going this way.
So, I mean, I went to Rocco's a couple times. I never did a Jello shot. I will say that. I had a few local draft beers. Those Jello shots have the hard liquor in them. I didn't want to go on a 5 o'clock newscast and be a little wobbly.
Old JD.
Yeah,
He's having a good time up there in Omaha.
I've been drinking.
It's like the Wolf of Wall Street, you know, when it hits him like half an hour later. Whoa, you know, I can't talk. But so it was amazing crowds, amazing games. I mean, how many plays were made that if they're not made, LSU's not the national champion? How many heroic performances when you needed a guy to step up who maybe hadn't stepped up that big all year, whether it was Nate Ackenhausen saving the day in his start against Tennessee, 6 shutout innings, the Wake Forest rematch, they get off to a wobbly start with Javen Coleman and Blake Money. They're down 2-0, and Wake Forest about to blow the thing wide open. Griffin Herring comes in, shuts it down. LSU wins that one. Ty Floyd, and I heard you talking about it. Ty Floyd, his first start, deserved better than that.
I agree.
He had 10 strikeouts through 5 innings, and Alex Milazzo told me, look, it's hard for everybody out there. The umpires can't see. We can't see. The shade, the way the sun is, the overhaul is like funky like that. So I don't know if Ty Floyd got some strikeouts he didn't deserve early, but that strike zone went from the Grand Canyon to a postage stamp
Right.
in the 6th inning. And he's a great kid. He's not cocky or brash, and he's just like, what I gotta do, you know?
Right.
They have it on video where he's like, where did that one miss? He's like, that's got to be a strike.
Where he says, like, it was a strike last inning.
Yeah, that's what it was.
He's
He's like catching on camera. That was, I just threw that pitch. But I mean, that was the talk of the town. That if you were in Omaha that day, everybody walking back to their car was like, "What happened in the 5th inning?" It became a literal talking point because it had shifted so much.
Yeah, and certainly, he had 10 strikeouts. So his first game against Florida, 17 strikeouts. He'd always hit the 5th, 6th inning, and something would go wrong. Something would go quirky. The thing at Auburn, remember the coach came out and he had the theatrics, and that kind of threw Tide on. So for him to do that, and then Thatcher Hurd, on Monday, Florida has this home run derby on Sunday. They hit all these home runs, and the wind was gusting and all that, but he gives up that home run on Monday. I go, here we go, continuation of Sunday. And then he settles in and the breaking ball and all that. And then LSU, very similar to the women's basketball team. There were so many parallels that the women's basketball team during the tournament, their offense was spotty. They kind of relied on defense. But then at the very end, when it was most important, they scored over 100 points. Same thing with the baseball team. They stopped stranding the guys on base, and they exploded offensively. Jordan Thompson, what a great moment. Standing ovation for him as he comes to the plate, rips that thing in the left field, and puts him on the board for the first time. There are countless stories and amazing things to cover, and just the LSU crowd and Scott Woodward on the field smiling. We hit another grand slam, didn't we? With our coaches. And, I got to give my guy Richard Condon credit. I think he tweeted that morning. He said, the long drought is over. 84 days between national champions. We got another one, So football now on deck, but the celebration. Look, I was at the one, I think the one in 2009 was kind of rushed. The celebration at Ellick Box, I think they had maybe 3,000 people. This thing was 10,000,
on the sun. I mean, it was hot as hell.
Oh, my goodness.
Out there, and it had 10,000 people crammed in there.
Yeah. Skip Burtman's down the field, and I'm trying to interview him before the game, and he's like, you're not going to ask me to walk over there, are you? I'm like, no. We'll get you right here. Skip 85 out there, sweating it out.
Sweating it. I saw it, man. It was. All right, you're going to Nashville on Monday. LSU bringing a quarterback for the first time since Burrow, obviously. But then before that, it was always kind of like, where's the guy? Where is
Mettenberger.
the quarterback? Yeah, it was Mettenberger.
13.
What do you expect on Monday with LSU, and then what does it say of them bringing Daniels?
Well, I think you and I discussed it, whether or not they were going to bring a quarterback, and I think it says that, hey, there's no quarterback controversy here. Mm-hmm. This is the face of our team, or one of them. We're putting him out in front. He's the starting quarterback. A year ago at this time, we didn't really know who the starter was. There was a big kind of sentiment for Miles Brennan to win the job. And then he retires from football in the middle of camp, maybe 2 weeks in or whatever it was. So Now there's no doubt that Jaden's the face of your team. Can he be an all-SEC quarterback? Can he get in the conversation for some big-time things nationally? We know he's an electric runner. Talked to Rohan Davey yesterday. Rohan said, look, I need him to throw his deep balls in bounds. You got to give your wide receiver a chance. Don't throw that thing out of bounds. Pull the trigger, all the things we've talked about. But certainly, I love Brandon Harris. I still talk to him. I would consider him a friend. He's done a great job at Texas. I always kind of joked with him. I was like, man, in 2016, you guys were preseason top 5. You were the returning starting quarterback and a junior, and it didn't take you to SEC Media Days. That was a bad sign, when you don't take your quarterback. So, all those years of the Anthony Jennings and the Danny Etlings none of those guys ever went. So this makes a statement, I think. And then Josh Williams, if you had to create a student athlete in the lab, it'd be him. Yeah. To 3.7 GPA, whatever he is, already graduated from school in business. And, the returning rusher coming back. And then you've got Mekhi Wingo, who was a lifesaver last year after the Mason Smith injury coming from Missouri. So, I think those are 3 good representations. They put a lot of media on Mekhi last year.
Yeah.
Certainly late in the year at the Citrus Bowl, he was always out in front. So, I think it's good. Real quick, I've seen, is John Emery back? I guess that'll be a question at Media Day.
Yeah, it's going to be all over Media Day because I think, you ask 4 people up there, 2 say that he is, 2 say that he's not. It's
that's like having 2 beers a night. Is it good for you or not? I don't know. I read about it the other day.
Drink another one. It's
what study you read?
If he is, you're talking about a room that now has like 5, 6 or 7 people in it. Trey Bradford's back. John Emery's back.
The Trey Bradford story, man,
is wild.
Unbelievable.
It feels like it should be a 30 for 30.
At one point, I'm like, what naked pictures does he have? Or, what's the deal on this guy getting all these chances? He must be talented. I remember when they pulled off that upset at the shoe game in Florida. I remember him catching a touchdown, and he was involved in the offense and stuff. But
got chances from both staffs, too.
Yeah, from Ogeron and Kelly.
Would you believe me if I told you he's a redshirt sophomore?
I would believe you because I did the story that day, whenever that was, a month or 2 ago, and I was like, I can't believe. What can I not believe? The fact he's back, or the fact he's only a redshirt sophomore?
He's transferred to LSU 3 times. He's a redshirt sophomore.
Because I remember when he went to Oklahoma,
right?
And Lincoln Riley was like, "We are not doing this," or something like that. The quote was like, we're not putting up with this anymore," whatever was going on. So. Yeah, it's a pretty amazing story.
It's a strange story for sure.
The guy from Notre Dame, right? Diggs?
Yep. Logan? Yeah, yep. Logan Diggs. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's
he's a transfer. He's a New Orleans kid. He with the Rummel. He's
one of those guys that they keep talking about. We want guys who want to be here from Louisiana.
Right. And then for LSU football, I guess they're up next here on this national championship. Jacques, you've covered the program for a long time, right? And I said this in 2000, it was kind of the kickstart to a golden age of LSU football, right? It was a 20-year run where you were a championship contender, it felt like, every single year. Now, it's the entire department. For as big as a fan as I was before we covered it to starting to cover the program, I've never seen it as, I hate to use the word because they shoved it in our face so much, but aligned. Everybody's kind of on the same page. They're all on the same plane, pulling in the same direction.
It's pretty incredible. And in the new NIL era, transfer portal era, LSU is a have and not a have not. And so I think that
the definition of the have.
The definition of the have. And right? We've kind of gone up and down with this, right? In the beginning, when they went to Times Square and they had Olivia Dunn and all them there, it was like LSU's out in front. Then like a year later, it was like LSU's getting lapped on.
NIL.
Yeah, they're awful. And then now it's, with Angel Reese and Haley Van Lith and Flau'jae Johnson, Skeens, Tommy White, all these, you hear different things. Like, what was the NIL for those guys? $150,000 each. It's been something I've heard.
Well worth it.
Yeah.
Worth every penny.
Next year.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, and I think that both Kim Mulkey and Jay Johnson, outside of Baton Rouge, might be wearing the black hat a little bit. There'll be jealousy. There'll be anger. There'll be, hey, they're buying teams or whatever. So especially if they go back to back. I mean, if I'm sitting here with you a year from now, we're talking about women's basketball going, back to back national titles, and Jay Johnson doing the same. People aren't going to like that outside of Baton Rouge, who
and the
don't.
football team's in the Final Four.
Right.
Right. And
yeah.
then the playoff expands to 12, so they're about to be there every year. I hope you're not tired of them yet, because
it's just getting started.
You're about to hate them.
So yeah, it's great that you mentioned that, because I talked to Rohan Davey about that yesterday. I said in the year 2000, that was Saban's first year. Mm-hmm. You guys surprised some people. You won 8 games. You went to the bowl game. You won the bowl game. And in 2001, the expectations went up, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing this time. First year head coach last year surprises people, wins 10 games, goes to the SEC championship, blows out Purdue in the bowl. And now the expectations, last year you were picked 5th in the SEC West. Now you may be picked 1st.
Yeah.
Alabama's going to be right there. And Rohan had plenty to say about Nick Saban being pissed off and watch out this year and this and that. Mm-hmm. Although they don't have a quarterback, or they seem to be struggling with finding who their quarterback is. So, yeah, I think it's going to – I always enjoy going to SEC Media Day. Some people spoof it, and there is some comedy, and all these camera people backpedaling to get shots of coaches walk from one room to another, and whoever the quarterback is, and this and that. But I'm always excited to be there. Look, all the sports are great to cover. Nothing, in my opinion, touches college football in terms of turning me into a kid again and bouncing off the walls, and I can't wait to go. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
One of the things that I look forward to most at this event, more than anything, is Greg Sankey addressing the opening of this program, really, SEC Media Days. He has, what is kind of an hour, 45 minutes of a State of the Union, right, whether it's about college sports, college football, or just the league. I'd imagine that this address is going to be pretty pointed and pretty direct and pretty in the face of college sports, because he's sitting in a place, I believe, where he holds the most influential seat in collegiate sports right now.
Yeah.
I could argue that he's probably the most powerful person in sports behind Goodell.
And I think you and I talked about it, that it's a bit surprising, huh? I mean, when he came aboard,
he didn't say much.
He didn't strike you as a gangster.
That's right. That's right.
Kind of came up. I mean, hope not too offensive. A little nerdy, guy that was in the Southland Conference, and just kind of like, because Roy Kramer. I didn't cover Roy Kramer, but I remember hearing stuff about him. He was like, oh, man, that guy, he'll chew you up and spit you out.
Right.
He was a bulldog. And then, God rest his soul, Mike Slive.
Yeah.
He came across as just being kind of, but he was pretty powerful too.
Right.
And then
Sankey, he kind of reminded me of like David Stern, where he didn't show you publicly how powerful he was, but you felt like when he closed the door, like he would roll some heads. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Exactly. Yeah, he was a small guy. He wasn't like a guy big
always
in stature.
Smiling.
Yeah, happy-go-lucky. This is cool. Yeah. Right. And then Sankey, bigger guy. Mm-hmm. Real quick, funny story about Sankey. At women's Final Four in Dallas, South Carolina had been shocked on Friday by Iowa. LSU had just beaten Virginia Tech. I get on the shuttle to go back to the hotel. He's sitting there. I said, oh, hey, Commissioner, how are you? About 50-50. Because one of my teams had won and one of my teams had lost. Right, we're supposed to have an all-SEC final here. Right. But yeah, the going to get Texas and Oklahoma, putting them in the league, and then kind of acting like, oh, we didn't have anything to do with this. This was kind of out of our hands. And now adding, let's see, have we added any since then? No. But we could, right? I mean, could Clemson come aboard?
Oh, I would think so.
Florida State?
Yeah, absolutely.
Could we kick Vanderbilt out? No, I'm just kidding.
Relegation.
Yeah.
Yeah, pull your weight, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, really.
So I think the NIL is going to be the big discussion, because he has said, and I have heard him, we cannot continue with the current model of the states, each individual state legislating this. We need a uniform deal, and I would agree. I mean, it's so messy. I can't even imagine trying to, police this thing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And then the schedule. I'm anxious to see what he says about the 8 and 9 game schedule, because I think eventually it gets to 9, but I think the right play was to wait and see what the 12-team playoff is, with the criteria and all that goes into that. But it seems like they're going to get to a 9-game schedule here at some point.
Well, the divisions go away, which makes things very interesting in terms of who the two teams going to be in the SEC championship game. And I mean, I don't know how that's all going to work. And like one team says, "Hey, man, I had to play Georgia and Alabama, and you had to play Vanderbilt and Missouri."
Right.
You know, I mean, so I don't. Hopefully, it's good. Does that start this year?
Next
no,
year.
we still have our
this is
East and West.
This is the last year of your past.
Texas and Oklahoma,
right?
next.
I mean, like your CBS, SEC game, divisions, 14 teams in the league, SEC title of East versus West. The things that we've been watching since we were teenagers.
Let me quickly share a collective tear and sigh for all CBS affiliates across the country.
That's right. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to have Indiana and Purdue instead of Florida and Georgia. We're going to have to figure this thing out. So, but no, yeah, it's and still the most iconic. Still the best theme song, right?
It's like NBA on NBC. They've never been able to replace that intro.
The great John Tesh wrote that song.
That's right.
NBC.
That's right.
But yeah, so yeah, that's a big loss for CBS affiliates across the country. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of the last East-West, all that stuff. But exciting things to come, right? Oklahoma coming to Tiger Stadium.
Yeah.
These kind of things happening.
I mean, LSU's schedule next season it's what the television networks envisioned when they said, we're taking over your sport. Like, we're going to be the ones that dictate when people play, where people play, and what divisions they're playing in. A team like LSU is going to have an NFL schedule where they play USC, UCLA. They've got their league schedule that features Alabama, A&M, and they've also got a team like Oklahoma coming in. I mean, like, that's an NFL, you can't, there's no rest. There's there's nowhere to hide. And I think that was the intention of expansion. When the television contract said, yes, we are coming in and we're going to give you enough money for every school to take home multi-million dollars every single year. The one thing you're going to have to do for us is no more UL Lafayette's, no more McNeese's, no more rental wins.
The days of Miami of Ohio upsetting LSU like they did in 1986 are over.
Right.
Those kind of games are no longer. Appalachian State got Michigan to start 2007. Those kind of things.
UAB.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think back then, and even recently, I thought that the rental wins would play a role. After 2019, you go to Texas, you play this big emotional game. The next week, you get Northwestern State to rest some guys and kind of catch your breath. I think they played their role, but certainly what fans are paying now for tickets and parking and tradition funds and all this kind of stuff, they just don't want to be shoveled. A rental win that's going to be over in the first quarter that nobody cares about. So I see it. I mean, we grew up in the 80s, and certainly the schedule that always gets brought up is 1988. LSU opened with Texas A&M at home when they weren't in the SEC. They went to Tennessee. Miami of Florida came to Tiger Stadium. In the 80s, LSU was playing Ohio State, Florida State, teams like this, non-conference. And so now, those schedules are going to get beefed back up again.
Absolutely. All right, Jacques here with us. You're leaving Sunday?
Yeah, I'm going to drive up to Nashville Sunday and stay there the four days. It's kind of like the Daytona 500. The biggest days first. The biggest races first, and then, all the teams that LSU plays will cover and send that back. And then I'll be back for Chase Tyler at the Varsity on July 21st, the next Friday.
Great to see you. Safe travels. Thank you
All right.
as always.
Thanks for having me on.
Week. Yep. Jacques will be at SEC Media Days next week. Come back with us. We'll close it out here. The Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by R&B Builders.
Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Sean Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy,
Greg Brooks. Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team. Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McCormick Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Here you go.
Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McCormick. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
All right, welcome back here. Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by R&B Builders. Shout out to Jacques for stopping in here on this Wednesday, on that typical Wednesday that he's with us. We appreciate him for being here. And make sure you hit that like button, share button, comment button, as we'll be with you back here tomorrow. Coach Matt McMahon of LSU basketball will be here at 8 a.m. Looking forward to catching up with Coach McMahon on his off season and seeing what's next for the Tigers on the floor. All right, closing out here this morning, a little bit of a personal message and a one that hit pretty hard last night. One of my childhood best friends, Jesse McCormick, lost his father, Wiley McCormick, which was not completely unexpected. I think he's been sick for the past couple of years and was not unexpected in the sense, but for someone who lived an incredible serving life, just wanted to remember him this morning. And most Louisianians may remember Wiley McCormick, who was the corporal and commander over the Louisiana State Police and elevated himself into that position as the youngest to ever do it. Still holds that title for the youngest to ever be a commander in the Louisiana State Police. Served for 23 years and did it at a very high level. Served under 4 governors, including John McKithen, Edwin Edwards, David Treen, and Buddy Romer, and worked in and on services and accomplishments with people like MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, both at a local and national level. But then after that, he retired from the state police in 1988, and he became the director of governmental and public affairs for Al Copeland Enterprises and Investments. And if anybody can recall what Al Copeland was like, God rest his soul, rest in peace to Al Copeland. In the late 80s and the 90s, this guy was a rock star, right? I mean, like Popeye's Fried Chicken and Church's Fried Chicken. He originated Popeye's down in New Orleans. I mean, just had more money than he knew what to do with and was real eager to make impacts everywhere. And Wiley was his government relations guy. He was his lobbyist, both at a local and national level. And that's when, obviously, we became kind of friends with, my childhood friend Jesse when we were young, 10, 12, 13, 14, up through high school. And the experiences that Wiley would allow us to take part in, whether it would be staying in his St. Charles houses in New Orleans or getting us Final Four tickets and Endymion tickets and Super Bowl party tickets because of his connections. He was always someone that was just a great leader. You could sense his respect when he walked into the room from other people, the respect that people gave him, the respect that he demanded that he got from youngsters like us and would get just by a look, but then had the sense of humor of a stand-up comedian and could break down a room and could really get people to pull together and come together for one common goal and go get it. He is a great man, one that will be always remembered, never forgotten. And if you are proud about our state, and sometimes our state is tough to be proud of, a lot of the things that they do good, Wiley McCormick had his hand in. And he is someone that served our state very well and did it for a long time and deserves to be remembered here on the morning after he passes away. And I just wanted to make sure and give a salute to him and tell everybody around him. I know there's a lot of people up at the state capitol. There's a lot of people around police forces all over the state today, and of course his family that are grieving and hurting very hard. So our thoughts are with them, and hopefully everybody remembers him and his family today during a very sad time here, but one that remembers a very well-lived and served life for all of us. So rest in peace and salute to you, Wiles. Appreciate everything, man. All right, we'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Hit that like button, share button, comment button. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscription button. Enjoy the day mic'd up this afternoon. So make sure and tune into the boys as they'll be
6 to
breaking
8.
down more baseball all-star games and draft. Have a great Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Bye.